thank you all for taking the time. I'm sure everybody's very busy, and that's why I'm going to keep the intros very, very short. We have Laurie Martz on here, and I know there's some attendees who are very used to working with Laurie, and we're excited for her to join. She's actually done this itinerary, loves it, so she'll be able to chime in with any of her thoughts about it. And we have Anjali on here as well, who works with Shoreline Destinations, and she has a great group. Within this, we're putting together a nice group for next fall, and we already have some of her clients that are interested in joining the group. So we're very excited to have lots of people from between Laurie, myself, Anjali, and then of course we have Stacy, who is our great business development manager that knows everything there is to know about Rocky Mountaineer. And, you know, real quick for me, this has been on my bucket list for a long time. I think if you can do the Canadian Rockies, what better way to experience it than on these trains and some of the itineraries that we're going to talk about, especially the one with the group. My personal favorite with Lake Louise and a stop at the Fairmont. Very exciting. So I'm not going to keep talking. I'm going to let Stacy take it away from here, and we'll learn all about Rocky Mountaineer and what there is to offer. So thank you, Stacy.
You're welcome. And can you see my screen? Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Fabulous. So thank you, Andrea, and everyone for welcoming me into your homes today to talk about Rocky Mountaineer. I promise you that I'm going to try to keep it not too long because I'm so passionate about what we do. I can really talk your ears off. And I'm sure a lot of you right now are probably wondering to yourselves, you know, what exactly does Rocky Mountaineer do? And, you know, hopefully you can tell by the picture in front of you, you know, we provide these fabulous vacations by rail throughout the Rockies. Now, that is both in Western Canada, which is going to be my focus today. But this year we did launch our US route that takes guests from Moab, Utah to Denver, Colorado. But specifically what I'm going to be talking about is just on Western Canada. So for those of you who aren't that familiar with Rocky Mountaineer, we have been in business for 31 years. We are a family-owned, privately held company, and we do a lot of things to really welcome our guests to the Rocky Mountaineer family. Now, I'm sure a lot of you right now are probably thinking, I always get this question right off the bat, so I figure let me just answer it in the beginning. Do I sleep on the train? And the answer is no. And there's really two reasons for this. First, I do not want you to miss out on any of that stunning scenery throughout the Canadian Rockies. What you're going to notice when you're traveling with us on the train, not a lot of roads. So we're really giving you this exclusive access to seeing not only those stunning snow-capped mountains, but also some beautiful waterfalls, glacier-fed lakes and rivers, and some amazing wildlife as well. But the second reason why we don't have you sleep on the train, which is very near and dear to my heart, want to make sure you sleep in a comfortable bed. And trying to shower on a moving rail car, bit tricky at best. Safety, very, very important to us. So today's presentation, I'm really going to talk about this exclusive group that Shoreline Destinations has. And as Andrea said earlier, this is a small group so that space is limited. I will tell you this is going to sell out. Canadian Rockies for next year, we're already coming with a shortage with hotels, but this particular package I love because I wanted to make sure that I included sightseeing activities once you were off the train, all the things that I like to do when I go out to the Canadian Rockies. So this package is traveling in September. It's one of my favorite times of year because it's not too cold. It'll be around the 60s, but now you're going to start seeing snow in the mountains. And for me, when I go out to the Rockies, I want to see snow on the mountains. I think it just makes it that much more magical. So this package, it's 2 days traveling on our Gold Leaf train. It is traveling on our first passage to the west route, and it's traveling westbound. So your vacation is going to start in Calgary, and being that you're in the Canadian Rockies, we're going to start your vacation by doing sightseeing activities first off the train. I always say it's best to do your vacation kind of ending with the bang, and that is traveling on Rocky Mountaineer, the train. So we include all your hotels, sightseeing activities. I'll go into all the details about this, and then traveling 2 days on the train. So you'll be picking up the train from Lake Louise. You'll be overnighting in Kamloops. It's part of the overnight, part of the route, because again, you're not sleeping on the train. And then ending in Vancouver, where you'll have a couple of nights there. Now, a big benefit to traveling in our group is that everybody receives a $400 discount. So what we're saying is thank you for traveling as a group, and therefore we're providing a discount. So it's $400 less than what you would see in our brochure. But I think an also big benefit to traveling as a group is at Shoreline Destinations, they will have an escort. So somebody's going to be there with you the entire time, ensuring that everything runs smoothly. And also traveling as a group, if you end up reaching the maximum number, which is 34. And again, this is a small group, but all the sightseeing is going to be private to your group. And on the rail car, you're actually going to end up having half of the rail car. So let me go a little bit more into details. And what I'm going to do is start about the train itself, which I lovingly call Rocky. Now on board, you're going to be greeted by some fabulous people, and these are your hosts. And they wear a couple of different hats. First of all, they're there to ensure that you're having the most fabulous vacation possible, but they're also there to provide commentary and storytelling. Our trains travel fairly slow, about 30 miles an hour. So it gives you the opportunity to really soak in that beautiful scenery versus it just being a blur flying by. But also, they are excellent animal scouts. All the hosts talk to each other amongst the rail cars. So they're all going to have these earbuds in their ear. When there is, for example, a bear sighting, I've been on the train 6 times in the Canadian Rockies. I've seen bears and bald eagles every single time. And in September, it's a great time to travel. It's starting of the salmon run. Where there's salmon, there's bears and bald eagles. So for example, if they hear that there's a bear coming up, they're going to say, okay, everybody, just want to let you know there's a bear up to the right. Everybody goes to the right. And then they're like, wait, we hear that there's moose to the left. Everybody goes to the left. It's very much of a social environment. We really do encourage you to get up, walk around. We do not expect you to be sitting at your seats the entire time. You will be traveling on our Gold Leaf rail car. This is our 2-story rail car. So upstairs, it's all glass dome seating. Downstairs, there's a dedicated outdoor viewing platform. So there's space for you to get outside, walk around, take in that fantastic mountain crisp air. I am telling you, once you cross over into the Canadian Rockies, you will automatically notice that there's just a difference in the air. But it's also a great opportunity for you to take some amazing photos outside of the rail car. Don't know if you're going to have Jamie Lee Curtis with you. I think she looks like Jamie Lee Curtis on this picture. It's not her. Looks a lot like her. But also downstairs, we have our restaurant. So with our Gold Leaf rail cars, we have an a la carte menu for you to choose from. All your meals and drinks are included when you're traveling with us on the train. All of our food is locally sourced. If you have any dietary restrictions, this is where you would just notify Shoreline Destinations. They'll then let us know so that we can have the appropriate meals for you. But the way that the meal service works in our Gold Leaf car is that as soon as you get on board, first thing they're going to do is make sure that you have tea or coffee in your hands. Really important to us coffee drinkers. And then hot towels get passed around. Now breakfast is being served. And in our Gold Leaf rail car, we actually have 2 different seatings. So we'll say, okay, on day 1, Everybody who's seated in seats 1 through 35, you're in the first seating. So you're going to go downstairs and have your breakfast. You're going to have a choice of up to 7 different entrees to pick and choose from. My personal favorite is the breakfast skillet. Absolutely delicious, but I also recommend asking for extra farmer sausage. Their farmer sausage on the train, it is absolutely divine. Then snacks will be served throughout the day, and we have an assortment of sweet, salty, sweet and salty combinations. Then hot towels are going to get passed around again. Now you're going downstairs for lunch. Lunch, again, up to like 5 or 7 different hot entrees to pick and choose from. It is a 3-course meal. Now, what you're also going to notice is that, hey, Stacey, I see that there's a glass of wine there on the table. All your drinks are included, and that's both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. And this is what I say. You're on vacation. It is okay if you like to have a glass of wine or maybe a little splash of Bailey's in your coffee in the morning, which is the way that my mother always liked her coffee. Then in the afternoon, there's going to be more snacks. So while you're downstairs eating breakfast and having lunch and you're in the first seating on the first day, the second day, they're going to say, okay, for those of you that were in the first seating, you're now going to be in the second seating. So then you're like, oh, now we have to wait. Well, let me tell you this. We serve you a lot of food on the train. So when you're in that second seating, when everyone's downstairs having their breakfast in the morning, you're being served warm scones and jam before you have your breakfast. For lunch, it'll be a wine and cheese pairing. So before you have your 3-course meal for lunch, you're going to have a wine and cheese pairing prior to. So this is my word of advice. Do not bring snacks on the train. It's like being with family. So I'm Greek, and in my family, we have to feed people. So it's just like being with the Greek family. We're constantly feeding you the entire time. And as Andrea mentioned earlier, we do have some fabulous hotels that you're staying in, one being the gorgeous Chateau Lake Louise. And the hotels that you're staying in are the hotels that I really enjoy traveling in. All of our hotels are right downtown. So for example, you're going to start your vacation in Calgary, staying at the Delta in downtown Calgary. Now, depending on your flights, you're probably going to be getting in later in the afternoon, but it's nice to know that the Delta right downtown within walking distance of some restaurants. Then you're going to be spending 2 nights at my absolute favorite hotel, the Moose Hotel and Suites. It is family. You feel like you're in your own little ski chalet. You've got that gorgeous view of the mountains in the background. And then upstairs, it's a heated pool up there. So make sure that you bring a bathing suit. You will be spending 2 nights. And the Moose is also right on Banff Avenue. Banff Avenue, think of that as like a main avenue in a downtown area. So you have tons of shops and restaurants right there within walking distance. You will be spending the night at the gorgeous Chateau Lake Louise, and we do include breakfast every single morning at the hotels. We include some lunches during sightseeing activities, but we also include dinner at the Chateau Lake Louise. Reason being, unless you have a car, you're eating at the Chateau Lake Louise. Then you'll be on the train for 2 days, overnighting in Kamloops, arriving into Vancouver, where you're going to be spending 2 nights at the Sheridan Wall Center. I love this hotel. The rooms are huge, but you have the most gorgeous views of Vancouver. As far as the train and the rail route, and we actually have 3 different rail routes that take our guests from the Canadian Rockies out to Vancouver. But the one that you'll be traveling on is our first passage to the west. So this will take you from Lake Louise, overnighting in Kamloops and arriving into Vancouver. And what you're going to notice once you leave Lake Louise, you are going to be seeing these gorgeous mountains. So these are just some pictures that I took from the train. Absolutely gorgeous. But the real highlight, I think, of traveling on our first passage to the west is traveling through our spiral tunnels. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history here. The spiral tunnels were built back in the late 1800s. And it's really important to these Canadians having these tunnels and having the rail line built, because the rail line is what really united Canada. Now, back in the late 1800s, they had a bit of a problem though. They couldn't figure out how to control the speed of the train as they were traveling through the mountains. So they went to their friends up in Switzerland. Switzerland at that point they have huge mountains, but they also had a running rail line. And they said, how in the world did you all do this? An engineer came down and he goes, I got it. We're going to blow through the mountains. And you have to remember, this is back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, did not have the technology, nor did they have the equipment that we have today. It really is an engineering marvel on how they did this. Now, the reason why they call it the spiral tunnels, and you're probably thinking, well, Stacy, is it like a corkscrew? The best way I can describe it, think of an uppercase cursive L, so that you're traveling in and out of the mountains at various degrees, and that's what helps control the speed of the train. And right before you enter into the tunnels, the scenery, it's going to knock your socks off. And I didn't even include a picture of it. First of all, it just doesn't do it justice. And second of all, I've got to leave some sort of element of surprise, but the view is absolutely amazing. Now, also along this leg, you're going to be coming across some absolutely beautiful glacier-fed lakes and rivers as well. You'll be overnighting in Kamloops. Now, Kamloops is just part of the overnight route. So Kamloops, it's like this tiny little town. It's actually the sports tournament capital of Canada. Hotels, I'm going to be honest with you, there are no fancy schmancy hotels in Kamloops, but they're all modest. But they will be downtown because you will be traveling on our Gold Leaf rail car. But there are two rivers that run through Kamloops. And my word of advice, when you get there, stretch your legs, go walk down to the beach area. They have some really, really beautiful sunsets. Now, I think a highlight on this route going from Kamloops to Vancouver is Doris. So Doris is this one. Oh, she's fabulous. So Doris's dog, and I cannot believe I got this picture to come out so clear because I was inside of the train car. I have taken at least 30 pictures of Doris. I finally got one that wasn't too boring. So Doris, her dog knows when Rocky Mountaineer, the train is coming, and the dog starts to bark. So they both come out and she waves to all of our guests. Now, many years ago, and Doris has been doing this for years. So many years ago, we decided to have Doris on the train. So Doris is on the train, and as she's leaving Kamloops, coming up to her house, the whole team and our staff in our Kamloops train station all came to her front lawn to wave at her as she was on the train going to Vancouver. The first time I heard this story, I was bawling, but it's really fun. So hopefully you'll be able to see Doris because she's usually spot on thanks to her dog. But also along this leg, you're also going to see some beautiful rivers. This is another shot right here. I have taken, I don't know what it is about this scene I absolutely find spectacular. I always manage to find this spot when I'm traveling on the train, taking pictures of this. To me, I just find it beautiful seeing those snow-capped mountains in the background. By the way, this is not even part of the Canadian Rockies. And what you're going to find is you're in the Rockies at first, but even when you're traveling coming up to Vancouver, you still have those stunning mountains. And then you're going to be arriving into Vancouver. And again, you'll be spending 2 nights in Vancouver. What I love about Rocky Mountaineer is that we're not only giving you that unique experience, seeing and experiencing the Canadian Rockies on the train, but we also include really unique sightseeing activities once you're off the train as well, because I want to make sure that you're really kind of getting and seeing all of the best of not only Vancouver, but also out in the Canadian Rockies as well. And your sightseeing activities are going to be by the motor coach sightseeing tours. And again, I think this group is going to sell out, so that you're going to have the motor coach just to your group. So you'll have a driver guide who's there locally, kind of giving you the sightseeing commentary and then making a lot of stops along the way. So starting off in Calgary, you're flying in the first day. The next day, you're going to be stopping off at Heritage Park Historical Village. Think of this as like Calgary's version of our Williamsburg. So they have about 200 different exhibits and attractions. Everybody's dressed up in the pioneer type of experience. So it's just a great opportunity for you to learn more about Calgary's history. But they also have this steam train that takes you around. It's like 100 and something, 190, 200 acres, this village is, so that the steam train kind of takes you around to different areas. And then they also have Gasoline Alley, and Gasoline Alley just gives you all modes of transportation back to horse and buggy up until today times as well. Then you're going to arrive in Banff. And again, you're spending 2 nights at Banff. So you're going to have a tour of Banff. And in Banff, there is Banff Bow Falls. Absolutely beautiful, because you see the waterfall there, but then you also have the beautiful Canadian Rocky Mountains in that background. And then you're also going to be stopping off and seeing the hoodoos. Now, I zoomed in to get this picture, but if you zoom out, there is a huge mountain in the background. Again, just a showstopper. And then we're going to include taking a gondola up to Sulphur Mountain that gives you some other fabulous views. And I had a woman once when I was doing like these in-person presentations, and she was like, I don't know about this. I don't know about it. It's 7 minutes. And I told her, and I said, look, you do whatever you need to do to get up on top of that mountain, because I'm telling you, the views and scenery are beautiful, and you did not come along this way to miss out on this. And she goes, all right, maybe I need to take my Xanax or something. And I'm like, look, you do what you need to do. Just make sure you get up on that mountain, because again, views gorgeous. They have these fire pits. So I always like to come out with my hot cocoa and just enjoy the views. But there also is a walking trail, and you can go up to the weather vane for some more spectacular views, 180-degree views of the Canadian Rockies. The following day, you're going to be taking tour of the Icefields Parkway. The Icefields Parkway is one of the most scenic parkways in the world. The first time that I took my father there, he goes, I don't know where to look. I don't even know which way to look, because not only are you surrounded by those gorgeous mountains, but there's also beautiful waterfalls, gorgeous lakes. My personal favorite is Bow Lake. So you'll stop, walk around. This is a picture I took, and I didn't even doctor this. This is how absolutely gorgeous it is. But then you also have an opportunity to walk on Athabasca Glacier. And Athabasca Glacier, it's one of the few glaciers in the world where you can actually get to it by vehicle, because most of them you actually have to fly to. And then we're also going to include the skywalk. So you walk out on very, very thick glass floor, but you see, again, giving you just more unique views of the stunning Canadian Rockies. We're also going to include a tour so that you can explore more of Banff and Yoho National Park. Now, Banff proper sits in Banff National Park, but Lake Louise and Moraine Lake sit in Yoho National Park. So you will be stopping off at the beautiful Moraine Lake, which is actually not that far from Lake Louise. But you're also going to stop and have lunch at Emerald Lake, another beautiful, beautiful lake, gets its name for the emerald look. And then you're going to be walking along the natural bridge. Now, usually I don't like to have people in my pictures. However, I wanted to give you an idea and just the scope of how large this natural bridge is, because here are the people, and this is how massive the bridge is. And again, the water glacier fed, so it gives you that beautiful blue, green, turquoise type of look to it. And then you're going to be spending the night at Lake Louise. Absolutely beautiful. We do include dinner there. In the morning, you're going to have some time, so it'll be at your leisure. Right along the edge here, there is a walking path. So in the morning, after you have your breakfast, you can go for a nice leisurely walk just to see other perspectives of the beautiful lake. Then you're on the train for 2 days, arriving into Vancouver. You're probably going to get into Vancouver around 7 or 8 o'clock at night. But the next day, we'll have a full day sightseeing tour so that you're able to see Vancouver. It is one of the most beautiful cities in all of North America, in my opinion. So you're going to be traveling around Stanley Park. Stanley Park, by the way, bigger than Central Park. It is massive. So they have a gorgeous rose garden there. They have totem poles. They actually have an aquarium right there at Stanley Park as well. Now you're going to travel a little further up north to the Capilano Rainforest. And there is a suspension bridge that takes you across over to the Treetop Adventure area. And so the Treetop Adventure, you see the trees there, and up amongst the trees, there are walkways. So you're walking on the treetops in this rainforest in Vancouver. Absolutely beautiful. And again, being in there September, you're going to start seeing the leaves changing. It's going to be gorgeous. But they also have a bird sanctuary there as well, so that they have a bunch of owls, eagles, etc. And then at the end, you're going to relax, taking the gondola up to Grouse Mountain, where you have more fabulous views of Vancouver, the lakes, and the mountains that surround it. Now, I know some of you probably have a lot of questions. So I thought, aside from asking whether we sleep on the train, because we all know the answer is no, some other different points I wanted to kind of share with you all. So first of all, as of today, and it's been like this for actually the last 4 years, US dollar, really, really strong. So basically, if you do any shopping in Canada, my word of advice, maybe do your shopping in Banff versus Vancouver. Vancouver has a 12% sales tax. Banff, only 5%. But just know everything's going to be like 20% off because the US dollar still going strong. Weather in September, it's going to be around the 60s. So it could be in the low 60s, could be in the upper 60s. Mother Nature, you never know. So I always say, bring those layers. Great thing about traveling in Rocky Mountaineer, you do not need to dress up. As I always say, mountains don't care what you look like. And even when you're having dinner at Lake Louise, casual attire is just fine. We are Lake Louise, is the Chateau Lake Louise, their #1 client. And we do not expect our guests to bring a jacket and a tie or a dress out to the Canadian Rockies. So I would just say smart attire. Bring a day pack on board the train. And the reason why that I mention this is that your luggage does not travel with you when you're on the train. Because remember, all glass dome. So we're going to ask you when you are leaving Lake Louise to leave your bags inside your hotel room. We're going to pick them up and we put them on a truck. The truck goes ahead of the train. So as you're approaching Kamloops, our hosts are going to give you your hotel keys on board the train. We're then going to shuttle you to your hotel in Kamloops. You're going to go right into your room and your luggage is going to be waiting for you in your hotel room. So I would say if you have any medication to bring, that to take throughout the day, bring it. I would say because you have access to our outdoor viewing platform, bring a jacket, maybe bring some sunglasses if it's going to be a bright day. Bring those batteries, chargers, memory cards. We do have outlets at your seat. Great thing about Canada, you don't need an adapter or converter because they use the same voltage and the same outlets as we use here. Few things to note about this. Now, I've been on the train 8 times. Every single time, and this is no joke, every single time I'm on the train, I take at least 300 to 400 photos. I know. I'm telling you, the scenery is that spectacular. So bring those memory cards. Another thing to note when you're traveling with us on the train, there is no Wi-Fi. I think after all this social distancing, we all are going to be ready to power it down and be social with one another. To be honest with you, I mean, you're in the Rockies, so it's kind of spotty at best. I do recommend contacting your phone company if you are going to use your phone. Wi-Fi is available at all the hotels. So once you get off the train, no worries there. Just make sure that if you're going to use your phone, it's so funny, I say phone, that nobody uses a phone like this anymore, but make sure that you contact them. Just make sure, say, hey, traveling to the Canadian Rockies, don't want you to charge me an arm and a leg if I'm going to call my loved ones at home. Same thing with credit cards. Make sure that your credit card company does not charge you a foreign transaction fee. I am a points person, so I put everything on my credit card. I've gotten a lot of questions about people wanting to know how much cash to bring. I usually bring like maybe $100, $150 just to tip. However, tipping, the gratuities are included for the host on board the train, which is about a $50 per person savings because that's included. But we do not include tipping for those motor coach drivers. So I would say, maybe bring $50 or $60 to tip along the way. It's not necessary, but it's just a recommendation. That's about it for cash. Everything else, I would say, put it on your credit card. Use those points. Passports, they are required to get into Canada. Also, if you are traveling today, you do have to be vaccinated, and there are some steps required in order to enter into Canada and to enter back into the US. However, this trip does not leave until September of next year. Not really sure what the requirements are. So it's just something to note, but passports, basically, if you ever leave the US, you're going to need a passport. And last thing, I cannot recommend this enough, but get that trip insurance. I've had to use trip insurance 5 different times for various reasons. And, there is a really huge benefit to working with the travel advisors at Shoreline Destinations, because if there are any requirements in order to enter into Canada or back into the US, here are your experts. So they'll be the ones that are be able to work with you to figure out what is going to be the necessary steps at that time. But they also can book your airfare. They can also book that trip insurance for you as well. They are just a wealth of knowledge, really wonderful women to work with. So I definitely say huge benefit to working with Shoreline Destinations as you have all that expertise. So again, to kind of recap. So they have this exclusive group traveling the beginning of September of next year. Again, it is limited space because it is a small group tour, but it does include traveling 2 days on our Gold Leaf rail car on our first passage to the West route. It does include most of your meals. We didn't include all of your meals because Vancouver and Banff, they've got so many fabulous restaurants that we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to go off and explore on their own. But it does include those fantastic hotels and all of the sightseeing that I spoke about as well. So for that, Andrea, I'll kind of turn it over to you if there's anything else that you wanted to add.
Well, thank you, Stacy. Every time I watch this and I've known about Rocky Mountaineer for years and years, and you do such a good job of bringing your personal experiences into it. I love all the pictures. I mean, I'm obsessed. I mean, you sold me. I'm like, how am I getting on this tour? But no, we have a lot of questions. I know people have questions, but you did a really good job of covering a lot of information in a quick time frame. So I'm going to, and the other thing is, again, we have a lot of for clients that are on here who haven't met me yet. Lori and I used to work with Lori, so I found out about Rocky Mountaineer through Lori, who has loved Rocky Mountaineer, done this tour before before. And so now Lori and I are merged together, and I'm excited to help Lori's clients. But Lori, also, if you want to add anything in, because I know you've done it and you love it as well. Again, Stacy did such a good job of giving us a quick overview of everything. I mean, all the tours that we get included with this, to me, is incredible. Not to mention, like, I love the pool, the heated pool.
Yes.
So there's so many great things about it. So yes, we have a lot of questions, but Lori, did you want to add anything in before we start with the questions?
Yeah, I'll just say, Stacy, you did a wonderful job. I want to go back. I absolutely love this trip. It was one of my personal favorites. I think the scenery is just amazing, and you did a great job of explaining that to people and showing your pictures. I remember we did go in late August, early September, and I can remember sitting on the train, and we were, up at a high elevation and cliff coming down, looking at the water, the river running, and seeing the salmon. I mean, we're up high on the train. The water is so clear that I can see the salmon swimming in the water, the pebbles, rocks in the water. It's just amazing. I thought that water is so clear that we can see all this. And accommodations were amazing. Everything about the trip, I just thoroughly love. So you definitely this is definitely a bucket list, and you could repeat this trip over and over again and never see the same.
Yeah, it's funny because everybody always asks me, now due to COVID, I haven't been on the train or out to Canada for the last 2 years, because usually I travel on the train about twice a year. And this year I traveled on our US route on Rocky Mountaineer, but I haven't been out to the Canadian Rockies in 2 years. And I cannot wait to go back. And my friends are always, they're floored, and they're like, how is it that you were always so excited to get back out on the train in the Canadian Rockies? And I said, every single time I go on the train, because I've gone in almost every single month that we operate, I said, the scenery is always different. The scenery is always different, and it's always just so beautiful. And the service on the train, it is just so nice to be pampered, even if it's just for 2 days. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, and I love the time of year, September. I think like the weather is going to be fabulous. I know Anjali's super excited about this one. I mean, we have been talking about it. So we're really excited about the time of year, the route, everything about it.
I think it's a good time because of the temperature. So It's not really warm, and it's not where you're, in so many layers that you feel like a stuffed marshmallow.
Yeah. So, no. Well, I'm going to get to the questions because we have a lot. Gold Leaf train, how many seats are on the train? I think you said, Stacy, we would take up our 34 plus somebody from Shoreline Destinations will be escorting the group. We're sort of fighting over who's going to go do that. I know Anjali has a bid in to do it. We're trying to figure it out now, but we will have half the train, correct, with our 35 seats.
That's correct. And what's really nice, and to go a little bit just briefly into detail, it's really nice because when you're, let's say the other group, the other half, are downstairs having their meals, they're down there for about an hour, hour and a half, because there's also big picture windows when you're eating downstairs. So I do recommend bring your cameras, your phones or whatever to take photos. So while they're downstairs eating, you now have the entire rail car to yourselves. So again, we really do encourage everybody to get up and walk around. So it's really nice that you have several hours throughout the day where you have the whole upstairs just, particular to your group. But it's usually around 68 to 70 seats.
Okay. Yeah, that's really a nice extra benefit that you really can walk around when the other half is dining. It's nice. A question about the transfer is when everybody's landing in Calgary, and I mean, we do this all the time with groups. If everybody's arriving at different times, we're just going to provide the airline flight information, and then transportation will pick up depending on when people's flights land. Is that correct?
No, so because this is a group, as long as everybody is traveling and arriving around the same time, then we will do group transportation from the airport to the hotel. So we'll include it, right? So that's something to consider. And then all transportation from the hotel to the train station, that's included. And then the transportation, obviously, when you're doing the sightseeing activities, going from hotel to hotel, that's included as well.
Okay, so we'll have to figure it out. If we have people arriving, let's say some people want to arrive even a day early before the tour starts, we'll just arrange that ourselves. And we'll
and you can absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And by the way, so in Calgary, it's probably about maybe $35–40 to take a taxi. In Vancouver, it's a flat rate of about $35, and that's in CAD. So it's really not that expensive. In Calgary, the hotel that you're staying in, it's probably about 15 minutes, maybe 20, pushing it depending on traffic, to the airport. In Vancouver, it's probably about a 30-minute ride. So not that far. So that's another option as well. If you're not going to be flying with the group at a particular time where we have that group transfer set up, you can either do a taxi, or you can always book, a private transfer as well. It's really up to you.
Hey, Stacy, can I ask, is taxis readily available, and do they take cash, like US dollars?
Trust me, Canadians will always take US dollars because of the exchange rate. So that is not a problem whatsoever. They'll take American dollars all day long.
Okay, good.
And what time does the train leave Calgary? Do you know?
Yep, the train will leave. Actually, it's not leaving Calgary. The train will be leaving out of Lake Louise, because remember, you're doing the motor coach sightseeing tours from Calgary, making your way up to Lake Louise. So all that's by motor coach. It leaves probably around like 7:30 in the morning from Lake Louise. And then you're arriving into Kamloops anywhere between, I'm going to say 5 and 7 o'clock. We don't have a precise time because obviously there's only one track, so we share it with other rail lines. But getting in, so you'll be on the train anywhere from like 8 to 12 hours. So it really is nice that you're having a full day on the train, being pampered and being fed.
Yeah. Okay. And then dietary restrictions, you touched on that already, but anyone that has specific dietary restrictions, they would just advise us. We would get that information to you.
That is correct.
Yep. Okay. Alcohol included. Do you have a list of what alcohol is available? I don't know if you have that via like a PDF form that we could send out to all the attendees, or no?
I mean, we can. I can tell you just briefly. It's beer and wine, and the beer and wine are local. British Columbia wines, I'm a wine person. British Columbia wines, absolutely phenomenal. We don't know about it here because the wine, the different wineries in Canada, that's all around like the Kamloops area, they're small. So they do not export wines into British Columbia. So I export a couple bottles myself. But we have also top shelf liquor. So we have Bailey's. So if you want to put a splash of that in your coffee, you can. We have Bubbles. So if you like to have a mimosa, that's fine. Also, make sure if you like Bloody Marys, got to make sure that you get a Caesar, my personal favorite. We also have, I think, whiskey, vodka. So we have liquor as well. I can get that list out to you.
Okay. When we make the overnight stops, how much time do people have to explore on their own, or are they really, do you have time or no?
Well, if we're talking about just the overnight in Kamloops, because that's the only overnight that's part of the rail route, they're going to be getting in anywhere from, I'm going to say 5 to 7 o'clock. So you'll have a couple of hours to explore. Kamloops, it is a tiny little town, so there's not much exploring to be done. But they do have the river down below with the beach. In September, the weather is going to be really warm. Kamloops is in a valley, so it's actually warmer than what you're going to have out in the Canadian Rockies. Usually they have bands playing. They have like a podium or stage right there by the water. But other than that, there's really not much to explore in Kamloops.
Okay. Okay. Meals included at the hotels. I think it varies. We've sort of touched on that. And again, this presentation is being recorded. We're going to send out a follow-up email to everyone that's attended today, and we'll have this link as well, because we know this was a lot of information. So, you know, we can touch on those specifics, and then obviously, you know, if you have specific questions, you can then direct that to one of us to answer those specific questions after the call.
Yep, and I can talk about the meals. So day one, and I'm going to kind of follow along the map here. So day one, you're flying into Calgary. We didn't include meals because we didn't know what time everybody was coming in. Your hotel, the Delta, it's right downtown. You've got a ton of different options there available to you within walking distance of the hotel. The next day, you're traveling to Banff. You will be, we have lunch at Emerald Lake. So you do have lunch on that day. The following day, we do the sightseeing tour. That day, I know, and I may be getting my days kind of switched around, but there's lunch at Emerald Lake. Oh, and there's lunch at Heritage Park Village. So you have, and that's going from Calgary to Banff. So you have lunch there, lunch at Emerald Lake. At the Athabasca Glacier, when you're traveling up that day, we'll include lunch there as well at the Discovery Center. When we have breakfast, both days in Banff, breakfast at Lake Louise. You also have dinner at Lake Louise. 2 meals, you know, eating on the train for both days. When you get off in Kamloops, you're not going to be hungry because we're feeding you all day. When you arrive into Vancouver on the second day, we've been feeding you all day. You're not going to be hungry. Yeah. So then it's just that extra day in Vancouver. We'll be stopping off, or you'll be stopping off at Granville Island. So you'll have lunch on your own there. Granville Island's like this huge farmer's market. They have tons of shops and restaurants. You'll have a couple hours there to eat. And then we didn't include dinner. And we especially don't include dinner the night before everyone's traveling, because some people like to be able to get everything packed, be at their leisure, don't necessarily want to have a preset time. But again, the Sheridan Wall Center, you have a ton of restaurants right there. You know, they have a restaurant there at the hotel, but right across the street, there's plenty of options for you.
Okay, great. Tipping in US dollars, that's fine. Is that correct?
Yep. That is correct.
How long are you on the train daily? I don't know that we can. Do you have that?
8 to 10. It's anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. It really does vary depending upon the traffic on the rails. Okay.
And then any stops where dinner, I know Lake Louise dinner is included, but any stops along the way where dinner is not included? If it's a group, let's say 10 people, can we assist in making dinner reservations in advance? Is that going to be necessary at any of the stops?
No.
I don't know. I don't think so. Okay.
No, I don't think so. Okay. I've never had any, never had any problems.
Seat numbers assigned. Can I request to be sitting near others that I'm traveling with?
Yes. So your group of 35 will be sitting together, and within that subset of 35, if let's say that there's 4 of you that are traveling together, Andrea, that's where you just make a note to us when we ask for the manifest to say, hey, these 4 people would like to be sitting together, if that's no problem.
Okay. Yeah. And again, one of us will be there, you know, I mean, people get their little groups going, and that's fine. I mean, okay, but we can let you know in advance for anyone that specifically wants to sit with other people.
Yeah, because we do have assigned seats, and I think it's a breath of fresh air. I recently took Amtrak up to New York, and you know, everybody is always, it's like this mad rush to get in. And I'm going to tell you this right now. There are no bad seats on our trains. Everybody is going to have the most spectacular views. So you will have assigned seats. I love it. It's just a great way to start off your vacation, being relaxed, knowing you don't have to fight for a seat. And
Yeah.
in this instance, if you are traveling as like a smaller group, not a problem. We'll put your little smaller group together.
Okay. Okay.
So
Was
there is
yeah.
one more question that came in from on the chat. It says, do we fly back home from Vancouver?
Correct.
Which is correct, right?
Yep. So you'll be flying into Calgary and then flying out of Vancouver.
So 2 one-ways.
Correct.
And we can assist with the air. Again, these are things that we can help with. And again, as Stacy touched on, especially, you know, I mean, I've always been a big proponent of insurance. It used to be before COVID, what I was seeing was things that happened during travel. A lost backpack in a taxi, somebody broke their arm, you know, that sort of thing. That's really prior to COVID, what we were seeing a lot of. Now, you know, obviously insurance is at the forefront of just about every trip that we do, no matter where it is. Everybody wants to know about insurance. So we work with great companies and can price it out. It can include some cancel for any reason coverage, not at 100%, but we can get into details on the different type of policies and that sort of thing. So again, this is a larger trip. It's a lot of money, and you want to feel like you have some protection there as well. And again, it provides you in travel protection. And I'm sure, Lori, you feel the same. I'm sure you've had a lot of clients that just over the years have had to file claims while in travel.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
yeah, you know, things can happen unexpected, and you don't want to think that way, but it's best to be protected. And you're going to another country too. So even though it's neighboring country of, Canada, but still definitely a good thing to do, have insurance.
Yeah. Was there anything else? Did anyone have any other questions? I know Anjali met with her group of ladies, which was great, or maybe there was a gentleman or two there, but
there was a few.
There was a few. But we're very excited about this, and we have been talking internally. Again, the timing, the fact that this is a year away. Hopefully, it gives us some time with protocols and COVID. Things slowly keep opening up. We like that everybody has almost a year to sort of prep for this, but we already know that our 34 seats are going to be filled. We feel very confident about that, just with the response we've gotten already. And some people, again, for me, this is something totally different, a different way to not just flying somewhere. It's doing something totally unique and totally different. And I think that's what's very appealing to people. I also, as much as, I'm a travel agent, we're all travel agents, but it's kind of nice to have something just presented to you that you don't have to think about, and you can just go, okay, I can fly there. I don't have to research my tours. And with the gold leaf service, that's what you're getting. You're getting the best of the best. So, I love it. This has been on my bucket list for a very long time. So I think it's a great opportunity for people, for sure.
Can we just talk about, somebody just came in and said, when do we need to register by?
Well, we need deposit. So deposit has to be made by December 1st. And honestly, it's first come, first serve, because again, we have a total of 35 seats, but someone from the agency will be escorting the group. So it's open to essentially, we have 34 seats secured right now. We have the space on the rail car for this itinerary. It is first come, first serve. So that's where, again, for all of the attendees on today, and then we'll also do another email blast just to say, okay, here's the link to watch the recording for those that couldn't join. We need to get deposit in. So it is first come, first serve. Technically, we're, at December 1, we're sort of done. So, my recommendation is when you're ready to get the deposit in, and reach out to whatever agent you're working with. And if you've worked with Laurie before, again, Laurie and I are now working together. So you can either reach out to her, she'll forward it to me, or you can just reach out to me directly, either way. Any other questions?
I think that was all the questions we had. Yeah.
Is there any questions that came up from your in-person luncheon the other day that you feel like we need to touch on, or we're pretty good? Did any of the
No, I think COVID testing had come up as far as, getting tested before we get into Canada, and then the antigen test coming back into the United States. But again, we're talking a year from now, those protocols may change. We talked a little bit about airfare transfers. Transfers was big, trying to make sure that everyone gets as close to the departure and arrival time so that everyone can get that free transfer. If not, we'll have to look at, like Stacy said, individual transfers.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think everything else was covered. Stacy did a fantastic job there, talking to everybody. I know she had some individual conversations as well. So I think everyone had a general idea. And like you said, Andrea, everything has been presented already. It's on the flyer. It's very easy to look on the website as well for any additional questions. So it's a very easy way to navigate what the itinerary is.
Jill just added in about children attending, and it is family friendly. And Stacey, I know you and we were having conversations about it. In the past, it was a lot more just adult driven, but I know with COVID and some people still not wanting to fly or travel too far away, you were saying that the trend was leading a little bit more towards maybe more families. But would this itinerary be a good fit? I mean, it is right when school starts. That's the only thing for people local. School would just be starting. But any thoughts on that, Stacey?
I would say know your child. So what's the age? Because remember, there's no Wi-Fi on the train. I know everybody now is with their doodads and everybody has to have their electronic stuff. So I would say know your child. We do get some, but you are on the train anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. So, I mean, I've seen kind of like anywhere from like 12 on up. I would not recommend bringing any babies on board. Because that's a long time. And unless you like to keep that child with you and not have it thrown off the train, I would say.
Right. Well, and we were talking about that maybe some of the US itineraries, which are just released, where it's a shorter itinerary over the summer, that may be where you see more families joining those types of itineraries, not necessarily this one.
Yeah, Canada, we don't see it as much. The US route that I just briefly touched upon in the beginning, we have that shorter route going. Again, it's 2 days, but that you're on the train for one leg for only 5 hours, the other leg 8 hours. That one I think is probably more family friendly. And then going out to Utah's national parks, maybe versus this one.
Yeah, I think 8 to 12 hours without Wi-Fi. I've got 3 teenagers. They'd lose it. They would not go well. So again, you have to know your children, but maybe if not this itinerary, there might be something else. Again, a US based itinerary that's a shorter itinerary that might be more suited for families and children.
And again, and that's where they can work with your agency, and then you can walk them through about the different options that they have.
Yep. Okay. I think that's it. Thank you for covering so much information. Thank you for telling this story. I love hearing it from your perspective. So
I'm looking forward to seeing Doris.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen her again. I've seen her so many times. I just can't believe I finally got a decent picture of her.
Do you remember her, Lori, or no?
I don't remember seeing her, when we were in Kamloops, but I had heard this story before, and it might have been from Stacy or just people working on the train, because people on the train are just, they're just great people. I mean, they just want to take care of all of your needs. They love to talk, as they're bringing things by and everything. And the other thing I thought, do they still have the shopping on the train?
Yes, so that you can still we do have the merchandise catalog for our Canadian route only. So if you want They have backpacks, they have bags, which one of my personal favorites, binoculars, things of that nature. So you can do a little shopping while you're on the train as well.
I thought that was fabulous. I'm not sure that Jerry thought that was fabulous, but I did.
Any opportunity to shop.
That's right.
Well, thank you, ladies, and thank you, everyone, for joining today. Again, this is being recorded, so we'll send out the follow-up on this, and we hope to hear from you again over the next couple weeks and secure your spot on this great itinerary. And we'll internally here be fighting over who's going to escort this group. But we look forward to it. We're here to answer any further questions, and we will have a good afternoon and enjoy the day. And we're here if you need us. Thank you all. Thank you, Stacy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.